I just want to thank everybody for coming and being a part of Let's Talk About It with Deborah. Today we will have our president of the Northern Region, Richard Fox, as our guest on today. Sit back and enjoy. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We just want to say thank you to each and every one that's on the line today. We'll have our host for today. Our co-host is Mr. Richard Fox from the National Federation of the Blind. We are so excited to have you here today. Mr. Fox, hello.
Thank you, Deborah. I don't see myself as a host. I see myself as a guest, so I'm at your service to answer questions, and whatever you want me to do, I'm here.
You're so humble and so sweet. That's why we have you here today. No, we just wanted to kind of find out about you as a person and how you got into the position as president of the Northern Region of the NFB. So if you could start out with that, and we'll go from there. Welcome.
Okay. Well, you let me know when I've spoken enough, because I could go on for a long time, but I'll keep it short and sweet. So I'm Rick Fox. That's what people call me nowadays. And I am the president of the Northern Chapter of the National Federation of the Blind of New Jersey. And so a little bit about myself. I was blinded at birth due to retinopathy of prematurity. So I was born 2 months too soon, and there was problems with oxygen resulting in the growth of irregular and unwanted blood vessels in the eye, which caused scarring, and the scarring being thicker than other skin, pulled the retinas off my eyes. So I have permanently detached retinas, which resulted in total blindness from birth or a little bit after birth. And that means no light perception either. So I was born in Ocean Township, New Jersey, which is a municipality just outside of Asbury Park, which is a Jersey Shore town. And so it's very suburban. At the time, it was just developing, in the 50s, right after the war. And so in New Jersey, they don't have a school for the blind. Their system is that you go to your neighborhood school and you get support from the New Jersey School for the Blind. So I had Braille teachers to teach me Braille and to consult with the school staff to give them advice as to how to integrate me into their programs. And it was a wonderful situation. The school was supportive. I took gym, which in those days was not done all the time in schools. I did very well in high school. I was the vice president of student council. I was on the wrestling team. I was in a rock band. But I was also the only person in my school who was blind. And so I kind of lived in a little bubble. And when I went to college, I had a lot of trouble with sort of self-confidence. And it was quite a shock to be out of that bubble. And I discovered the National Federation of the Blind when I was, I guess, a sophomore in college. And it was helpful in a lot of ways. But before I go into that, I had a couple of experiences which, at the time, I thought was funny. But as I learned more about blind people, because I didn't know much about blind people except myself, since I was the only person I ever knew who was blind. When I applied to college, in one of the schools that I applied to, and actually, it's funny because I think it was, my mother was we were a very achievement-oriented family, so she took me to the best colleges. So I was at Yale, actually, talking to the people at Yale, and after I had an interview with one of the admissions people, they looked at my mother and said, "You need to speak to one of our doctors." And this was back before the ADA. Mm-hmm. And so we said, "Why is that?" And they said, "Well, you're blind." And we said, "I am blind, but that's a status quo situation." But since I was interviewing, to try to get into a college, I went along with it. So they said, "You have to go to the third floor, and our doctor's on the third floor." So we walked up, Yale is an Ivy League school. It has a lot of very old buildings. So we walked up a couple of sets of very steep steps with indentations in the steps, which, implied that people have been walking up those steps for 300 years. And
wow.
we got up to the top of the steps, walked into the doctor's office, and we said, we were told to come up here, and he looked at me, and he said, He said, "So I want to ask you a question. Can you walk upstairs?"
Oh, wow.
And, at my age, pretty unaware of the term discrimination, I thought to myself, if the professors at Yale are as stupid as this doctor, I'm not sure I want to go.
Exactly.
So the next school I went to was Tufts, and they told me not to apply. In spite of whatever I had in terms of my transcript, they said, "We had a blind person last year, and he didn't do too well, so it's clear that blind people can't do well here, so we don't want you to apply."
Wow.
So another thing happened to me after college. The first job interview I went to was a pretty long interview, and actually I think I went back for a second interview, and I got a letter of rejection, and they said, "We admire your spirit, and we think you should probably pursue your music." And I told them that I played the piano, but I wasn't a music major. So, again, it was another falling back on a stereotype. So I went through a period in college of a lot of self-doubt and a lot of lack in confidence. And I think, on the one hand, I don't think that's an isolated incident with kids who go to college.
Right.
Sometimes, but on the other hand, I had a feeling that I wasn't sure who to talk to about it, because until then I had been really, in a way, an ambassador or a teacher, or in terms of blindness. And if I had self-doubt, I wasn't sure who to go to.
Right.
So I discovered the National Federation of the Blind, and I had met some blind people because I went to a camp for blind kids, but I didn't keep in touch with them because I had some internalized shame of hanging around with blind people. I didn't want to tell my friends that I went to a camp for the blind. So there was that. So I started to go to these NFB functions,
Mm-hmm.
and it was tremendously helpful to enter a community where people were like me in that way. They were blind. They had that in common. I could ask them questions. We could talk about things that really most of the people I had come in contact with before didn't know, didn't have any exposure to, and really wouldn't understand. So it was very helpful. There were mentors, people that I could look up to. It was interesting because people have such low expectations of blindness that if you do things that are normal, they call you a genius. So it was, in a way,
yes, they do.
In a way, it was humbling for me to meet people. It was humbling for me to realize that I wasn't a genius, and that there were a lot of other people who were blind who were doing a lot more and had come a lot farther than I. But on the other hand, it was very helpful because I had people to look up to. I had people to ask questions. And so finding a community of people who you could mentor, you could be a mentor or you could be a mentee, depending on what your level is, was priceless for me at that time. I remember I knew somebody who lived in New York, and he was going to school there, and I wanted to work in New York. So he said, why don't you come and spend the day with me, and we can walk around and talk. And we went on the subway together, which I'd never done before. I remember when we crossed Park Avenue together, and I thought, can I really, first of all, I couldn't believe how wide Park Avenue was. We kept walking and walking. But that, he was my age, and knowing and actually living the fact that he could do these things gave me the confidence, to apply for a job. And I lived in New York for about 10 years, right in Midtown Manhattan. And that one day that he spent with me had such a huge impact because it really gave credibility to the idea that it could be done. So I always recommend and advise people of the virtues of becoming a part of a blind community, or if you're a minority of any kind, to learn to be supported, to be mentored, and to be held accountable by people in that community. The other thing about the NFB, which I still value, is besides the idea of supporting each other as individuals, our mission is to be activists. Our mission is to advance the role of blind people in society in whatever way we can possibly do it. And that includes becoming a voice of blind people for governments, both local, state, and national. When the NFB was formed, there were vision requirements for jobs that locked blind people out of job fields altogether, such as teaching and such as the Federal Civil Service. And it was the NFB's advocacy that changed that. And over the years, we've done that over and over and over again. In 1996, for example, we were able to change the copyright law so that organizations that produce books for blind people no longer have to get the permission of the publisher of a book. to make a copy of that book that blind people can use. So that's been very helpful. That's the reason that if you are a part of the Library for the Blind, you get commercial audio books that have already been produced by a commercial company, because we don't need to get their permission to make them available to blind people. That was another thing the NFB did. So really our model in the NFB is we get support from one another, we get help, but we pay it forward by giving back, by advocating, by making life better for the next generation or the next blind person that comes along. So that has been a sustaining vision for me over the years. I worked 20 years for IBM doing programming. I did some sales. I also worked at a help desk, which was sort of my awakening to the fact that I liked to teach. So after 20 years at IBM, I was hired by a small company that taught blind people how to use technology. And so I did some training there. I did some sales. I was in management. And when that business closed, I started my own business. So I'm very happy in my little small business teaching blind people how to use iPhones, iPads, computers, and so that they can be independent and take advantage of that technology. So either in school, on the job, or in retirement, they can participate in the world just as everyone else can. So that's pretty much my answer to your first question.
That's an awesome background, but you did leave the part out, how did you become the president of the Northern Chapter?
Well, we have elections, and I've been in the NFB for a long time. I picked up, I was the president of the Connecticut State Organization for almost 4 years in the 90s. I was first president of the chapter from 2006 to 2010, and then we had, I relinquished the position because I thought it was important to have new blood. Unfortunately, that person passed away. Her name was Rebecca Bryant, and so I think I took on the job again as president of the Northern Chapter. I was elected to the position, I think it was 2018. So I've been doing it now for 6 years.
Wow. You do an awesome job. And I just thank God for you. Very patient with people, very compassionate, and very ready at all times to assist. And I learned that myself when I called you and I was inquiring about how to become a member of the NFB. And I've learned a lot. Just recently, I'm new pretty much. I don't think I made a month yet. But I was inquiring and found out a lot of information. And in calling you and calling Miss Allen in Louisiana and the other location in Colorado, I found out so many services that NFB provide for their people. And I wanted to be a part of the local chapter, so that's why I called you and you gave me a call back. But in being a part of the meetings, I saw that you guys work pretty much in every area, that the legislative avenue, that you have people in Washington lobbying about different laws to make sure everything is accessible for the blind community. And you're not just stopping there. It's for disabled people in general, but that you're advocating for us. And, the NFB in itself is advocating for the blind and disabled community. And so the things that I saw were very impressive. I saw the people and them in action and how the NFB is committed to helping to make sure this continues, and that they have the support in being representatives of NFB as well. So that was impressive. But then it goes further than that. I've seen that you want to also make sure that the people that are in our community, that they are able to participate in different events, social events as well. So I was hearing a lot from different members about the different events so that the blind community and disabled community do not feel isolated. Like you said, you felt, like you were the only one in a sense, because in the area you were the only one that you knew of. And so I would like to applaud NFB for reiterating the importance of our people getting out, communicating, and being a part of the community so that they can understand that they are very important and very much needed, and that they, too, can do whatever is needed. And before we go any further, I would just also like to say thank you to your wife, Debbie. I don't know if she's sitting on your side, but, thank you so much.
She's not in the room, but she's here.
I wanted to say thank you. I said invite her to sit right at your side. Thank you so much for just agreeing to take this time to address our podcast, Grown Folk Talking Progressive Podcast. We always want to bring information to the forefront and be able to open things up, because there's a lot of people that have a lot of questions. Just like you said, the guy asked you after you walk all of those flights of stairs if you could do it, which really would sound really silly. But those are the type of questions that the blind community get asked all the time. How do you do this and how do you do that? And it may seem strange to us that are visually impaired and blind because we live with it every day, but it's also something that they're not familiar with, that they don't live with every day, So I know that we have some on the line today that have questions, and some we have are blind, totally blind and visually impaired, and some are not at all, but are curious to find out about, what's going on with the blind community. But I just want to say I just love the way you lead as a leader, and that you're humble, and that you always make sure that you let us know as a community that we have those that are there to advocate on our behalf, whatever the situation is that we are facing, whatever they are. So I would like to also ask you a little bit about your music. Why not?
Well, I'm happy to answer that question, but I want to say one more thing about the NFB and its philosophy. We have, as one of our sort of slogans in the NFB, one of the slogans is that low expectations are the biggest barrier between blind people and their dreams. So we know that vision, we know that sight is a very dominant sense, and that people who are sighted and people who are blind and don't know any better yet really feel that without vision, life is done, and that blindness is, one of the biggest tragedies that could befall a person. Because really, if a person is sighted, they don't have a way of imagining how things could be done without using their sight. And we know, and the NFB's message is that we are an adaptable species. Just by the fact that if you look at the way people live in different climates, how we adapt. If you look at even the act of reading, which is a skill that you have to learn, we're not born with it. So that our message is that if we're trained, if we have the opportunity and we have the people behind us to help us and to hold us accountable, that blindness can be reduced to something like a nuisance, which means that we can learn the skills that we need to function in society on the basis of equality with our sighted neighbors. And the problems we have are due, the basic problems we have are due to misunderstanding of what blind people can do. And a lot of times we ourselves internalize those low expectations, and a lot of times policy toward blind people is hampered by those low expectations. So sometimes the type of training that we get is not as good as it could be, because the idea is, well, how much good really can you do anyway? So one of the things that we try to do in the NFB is to get blind people themselves to raise their expectations, and to get the society as a whole to raise their expectations, so that the majority will see us as equals, will expect blind kids to function in the educational environment as equals, to hire us in various jobs, to date us and to marry us, and to think of us as people who can function in society. So that's why the mission of the NFB is so broad, because it depends on your stage of life, but we all really have the same problem, and that is a basic problem of low expectations. So I wanted that to get out. As far as my music goes.
Well, before you go there, I'm glad that you did say that, because that's very important when people are dealing with this issue, because it's some that are born with it and some that's not. And people really don't know. It's like you said, they have to meet you where you are and help you from where you are. In my particular case, I went blind at the age of 23, and I was already the mother of 5 children. And it was really a tough time for me. I didn't know how I would move forward with this. And that was in like 1991, I believe, that I finally got a diagnosis. It started at the end of 90, and I started getting spotting in the eyes, to find out later in 91 and being diagnosed with optic atrophy. So it's damage to the optic nerve. And at that particular time, I did not know how to move forward. I didn't know anything about Commission of the Blind, NFB, or anything like that. So I went on every day trying to figure out ways in and of myself to just keep moving forward in parenting and just trying to make a life. I did not get introduced to Commission of the Blind until years later, and finally went to Joseph Cone Rehabilitation Center. So the really downfall for me was that I had no technology training at all. I had no information as far as the computer was concerned, any technology training at all. And as far as reading, I could only read something very, very large up close. And it really bothered me, and it kept me from moving forward in a lot of ways. And so I thought that with that, I wouldn't be able to go forward and go through my schooling. And eventually in 2008, I went to Joseph Cone, and I was able to go and get my diploma from the state and different things of that nature, and really see how much advanced through technology and Braille and things of that nature that the blind community was, far above what I imagined, because I really didn't see that many people blind around me or visually impaired. So it really had impacted me to go to the school for to see and learn. And now even more, I'm looking forward to going to Colorado or Louisiana for technology training and things of that nature to further. Because what I see is that people are really doing big things in our community with them being visually having visual loss and being totally blind. And that's a wonderful thing to know that in spite of whatever is going on with you, you can further yourself and do better. And that's one of the things that I would like to apply NFB for, and Commission of the Blind, taking in our state legislators and for putting in place these type of things, NFB for fighting and advocating on our behalf, so that we do have the opportunity to excel and to do well in whatever arena that we are in. So, yes, I'm glad that you did bring that to the forefront, and that was very important. Thank you, Mr. Fox.
So do you want me to talk about music?
Yes, I would like to know about your music.
Well, I grew up in the 60s. That's really when, so I was a rock and roller when I was a kid. I was in rock bands. But in college, I discovered jazz, and I discovered the American Classic Songbook. So I became a jazz and a cabaret pianist, mostly self-taught, but I've had some classical training, which helped me a lot. And in college, I kind of helped with my expenses by playing gigs in different places. I haven't done anything professionally since I left college, but I've certainly played at a lot of parties.
I heard about you even singing at karaoke night.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of George Gershwin, Cole Porter, Sammy Cahn, all those different people. I've just, I think Burt Bacharach has done a great job, and he died recently. So all those people have given me a great joy in terms of their songs, and I've had a really good time in my life entertaining people. And my mother always told me that a party with music is a lot better than a party without. So
that's right.
That's what I've tried to do.
Okay. That's a wonderful thing. And about your wonderful wife, I love her name, Debbie, which is my nickname. Did you meet your wife at college, or where did
we
you
met
meet?
We met at a cross-country skiing program for blind people in 1990.
Okay, so is she also visually impaired?
Yes, she's legally blind. She has some vision, but for people out there, the best vision you can have as a legally blind person is 10% of your usable vision. So, and that's with glasses. So your vision has to be really bad to be legally blind. Now, of course, a little vision, is a lot better than mine because I don't have any. But when you're legally blind, your vision is really, really bad.
Well, I'm definitely visually impaired and legally blind. I am able to see and get around, but we have to be very careful with the light perception and things of that nature, because with the light changes and stuff affect the eyes, and it takes me a minute to make an adjustment, so I have to come to a stop right quick sometimes. But it's a little more difficult sometimes, I think, for me, because having had vision and then losing it, sometimes it's still in your mind that you can still do these things the same way you were doing them all along. And so sometimes I have to realize that I really can't do that. I have to slow down a little bit. And I use the cane, but, I tend to use it now more than what I did before. And I know that it's needed, but it's just so already implanted in my head not using it. I have to take a step back and say, okay, pick up your cane and use it, because it's the simplest things that mean a lot. The leveling of the street, being able to navigate and not trip up the stairs and up the curb and kick your toe on the curb and the steps. Things of that nature that seem so simple that you may think that you're able to do because you still have partial vision. and then you end up in trouble. Like, for instance, in my home, I have a wall on one side, and another side is no wall. If you walk straight ahead in the wrong place, you may bump right into that wall. Half of your forehead is on the wall. But little simple things like that, because in your mind, you are navigating without that cane. And so it's important for that mobility training that they give you, which I think is so great, because I took that in Joseph Cone, and crossing the streets and listening for the traffic and the traffic light to see when the cars is going, when it's safe for you. All of that, those things are very important without you going to school or having these lessons, which Commission of the Blind also extend to people in the blind community. You would not be able to navigate as well and safely, and maybe not at all. So these are very priceless opportunities, teaching that we have available to us now. And I just went to Joseph Cone for about 2 weeks in September, and even with them in the kitchen and teaching people how to cut correctly to make sure they don't injure themselves and burn themselves and things like those. Those are invaluable lessons that we have to have the right people to teach, and we need this teaching for all those that are needed. It needs to be available to them. And so it's a great thing that we have these things available to us.
I agree. So I'm ready to take questions if you want me to.
Yes. About it, we can open up so I can see who we have on the line that would like to ask questions. And Biden, since you've been such a great guest, we'll start out with you. Great help.
I'm a guest host. I thank you. So, very good, great, wonderful information. And two things came to mind for me. So I would love to get the contact information to turn my books over for translation through the organization. I have 2 books on mind/mental health, overall health and wellness, with a lot of resources. And my podcast community here has been, and it's needed, the audio version or a version where they could listen to the book. So if you have contact information that I could reach out and turn the books over freely to, of course, to be translated in a way that the visually impaired community could access the book. And then the other thing I was thinking, especially listening to Deborah and yourself, but Deborah, where her vision isn't 100% gone, is that using those tools while you still have vision, sort of, will position you definitely be able to master them, hopefully not ever needing it for total vision loss, but you have an advantage where you're learning how to use them and listen while you do not absolutely need it. So that's a benefit. I have a habit of practicing situations and conditions just in case. I write very well with my left hand, and while I was at a program, the young people said, "Well, Miss Smith, are you left-handed?" I said, "No, I'm not, but if I ever lose the ability to write with my right hand, I don't want it to be scribble." So I started practicing writing with my left hand. I also drive a lot, and if the windows are open and you're driving, something fly in your eye, if you cannot manage driving with one eye closed, you could lose control. So I practice while I'm driving, closing one eye, driving with just that left eye, and then driving with the right eye, just in case. So I have a habit of doing that, and I'm just thinking now of the things that I will begin to do, not in a wishful thinking category, but in a just in case, because anything could happen to any of us at any point in time, and it also helps us to see what others may be experiencing with limitations as such. So just asking if you have contact information where I can reach out to send the books to be translated so that the visually impaired and blind community could access the information. Thank you, Deborah.
Well, Ivane, I'll give an answer to that. First of all, is your book available? What platform are your books available now?
So I have them. They're available on Amazon. I do not have them in Audible, and I also have them because I'm self-published. So I have them in Word format and also in PDF.
Okay, so first of all, the wonderful thing about technology is that if a blind person knows how to use either the Android or the iPhone with the speech implementation, on the iPhone it's called VoiceOver, and on Android it's called TalkBack. So if a blind person knows how to use those features of their phones, they can read your book already. Because for example, I have the Kindle app on my phone. And I can go ahead and buy any book I want and read it, which is a tremendous step forward from the way it used to be when I was a kid. And somebody had to translate it into Braille or read it to me or record it for me. Now I can buy a book and read it myself. So that's why when Deborah was talking about technology, that's really one of the things she was talking about, is that there are now programs that we can learn, which allows us to read books independently that we didn't used to be able to read because of the advancement of technology. And secondly, it's the problem with transitioning from having vision to not having vision and doing it gradually is that sometimes people try to rely on their vision when it's no longer reliable. And that presents safety concerns, and it also, your efficiency starts to go down the drain because it takes you so much longer. So the advantage of learning non-visual techniques is that you're now relying on senses that are not limited. So if you can listen to a book rather than having to read it, you're going to be able to do it much faster. If you're using your ears to determine what traffic is doing, rather than your eyes that don't work that well, it's probably going to be safer for you. But you have to learn the new skill. And that's why it's really important to get training, because I agree with you. You have to learn the new skill and use it. And it doesn't mean your vision isn't helpful, but you have to know when it's helpful and when it's not.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I wanted to just add to that the Talking Book and Braille Center is where we get our books from, and they supply the audio books, and they probably would be able to give you some information as an author how you can add your book to the collection as well. Talking Book and Braille.
I don't have that number with me, but I can certainly send it to you, Deborah. And they obviously, they have volunteer. I think they have some local volunteers to read books but they choose the books that they want to read. But certainly you could get in touch with them and tell them that you have certain books and you'd be happy to have them read them. It doesn't mean they will. It doesn't mean they will, or maybe you'll have to wait a couple of years. But we can get you that number.
Right, and also it goes by the request of the people. People have to request a book. I have quite a few books here, but I call them and tell them what books, and then they send me the audio so that I will be able to adjust. Like, for instance, my Bible or my James Patterson books. Gotta have my James Patterson.
Yeah,
but
those are quite opposite. Those are quite opposite books, right? The Bible and James Patterson.
Well, I had some. Hey, along came a spider. Hey, what can I tell you?
I get it.
So that's what so different books like that. I call them Avadane, and they will give the books out. They'll let the people know what type of timing they're looking at, what turnaround, and they will send those books out as the people request it. Or you can also just Google New Jersey Talking Book in Braille, and give them a call. It's a 1-800 number. But I wanted to say that also when we were talking about the condition of the eye changing, that's the reason now that they teach you as if you're totally blind when you go to the school for the blind now. So now it's the sleep shades, and that's how you have to learn as if you are totally blind. That's how they were teaching when I was there. Now, the second time when I went to visit, you had some people not having to wear sleep shades or whatever. But I think for the major schools like Colorado and Louisiana, that's what they're doing. They're teaching you as if you're totally blind. And they also have so much more that they're offering than our local school right now. So that's what they're doing. Just in case anything happens, you're prepared. You know,
yeah,
it's
I want to explain that to the sighted who are on. Why would you teach somebody who has some vision as if they're totally blind? And the reason is that vision it's so easy to use your vision that I think my best analogy is touch typing. My brother, who's fully sighted, took a typing course when he was in 8th grade. And they obviously you want to learn to type without looking at the keys. So how did they do that? They put a blindfold on him. That was the only way he wasn't going to look. And after they put a blindfold on him, they taught him how to type. After a while, you get good enough at it that you can take the blindfold off, and you're not going to cheat. But the temptation to cheat and try to use your vision is so out front that they want to teach you the non-visual techniques. So once you get really good at the non-visual techniques, you can then make your own judgment as to when your vision is efficient and when it's not. And so that's the philosophy behind teaching you that way.
And it's a beautiful thing because it definitely it also saves them money too, because a lot of people that initially went to school, they had some vision and then they had to come back because they lost their vision. So now it's a thing that they're definitely putting, them on the right track totally, teaching in that way. So they don't have to come back because now the vision has changed. That's how they teach initially. So that's a great thing too. It saves everybody time and money if you look at it. So I know that we have Adrian on here. Adrian, do you have any questions? Since you were one of my first people to pop on. If not, we're going to just ask, is there anybody else that would like to ask a question at this time?
No, I don't have any questions at this time. But thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Okay, always.
All right, yeah. But Jeff, interesting interview. And maybe one day I'll come to one of your meetings. I'm always threatening that, but I haven't done it yet.
We'd be happy to have you, Adrian, anytime.
Mr. Fox, don't talk too fast. No.
No, you cut me off. I was going to say, I know you will, but okay. But good interview. I have company here, so I'm not going to ignore my company.
All right. Thank you, Adrian.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Do we have anybody else on the line? Go ahead.
Yes. Hello. This is Angela Charles. My question is, My question is, as a sighted person, what can we do to continue the advocacy of programs like yours to help others?
Well, I guess, we're a nonprofit. It costs money to go to Washington and to speak. So if if you want to help out by giving a donation, you can go to nfbnj.org, and there'll be a donate thing on the page, and you can donate. That always helps. And if you can study that web page and read a little bit more about us, but we provide scholarships for blind college students. We have a program coming up where we're going to have high school students doing a math and science sort of boot camp, because a lot of times blind kids are discouraged from studying math and science, and we know that with the proper accommodations and the proper training, blind people who have that ability, I don't, but who have math and science ability can go as far as they want. So we are doing that. We have what we're trying to do in New Jersey is to get to allow blind people to vote with their technology, so that they can have a secret ballot like everybody else. And so we're going to have to go to Trenton and talk to our legislators to do that. So we have a lot of programs that are very helpful. We have a senior division where seniors get together and talk to each other. We have a senior retreat every year so that blind people who are just going blind can learn what the possibilities are, what the opportunities are. And we have conventions every year where blind people can get together. The reason that a lot of blind people feel isolated is that there are not a lot of blind people in the population. I think it's something like 2% of the population. So getting people together, getting them to be able to talk, getting them to learn what appliances are available, what gadgets are available to help is very helpful. But, hotels are expensive. Getting people to stay in a hotel for a couple of days is expensive, and we assist people in that. So any donations that you might want to give will be put to good use, I promise you, and it will help blind people to not only to get help, but to learn that it's respectable to be blind and to give back.
Thank you, Angela. Great question. It's also there's also different agencies, Angela. Like Leon has an organization called Eyes with a New Vision, and with that organization, what they do is they teach sighted people how to interact with the people that are visually impaired or blind. And so sometimes with the even handling of or helping that person can be offensive. So what they do is they run a training course. So they will come out into different areas and teach you how to assist. You know what I'm saying? Because what you don't know can hurt, although they say different. But that's one of the things that Leon addresses with his organization, and they come out to the various places. So that's just one other additional thing that you can do is to sponsor a day or so where people can come out and, give a training and things of that nature. And so we do things like that as well.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is Bill Graves.
Hi, Mr. Graves.
Has been a dynamite performance today. As you all know, I work with the blind vets, and like the gentleman said, so many people do not know what organizations are available for the blind. And with the veterans, it's even worse because more veterans commit suicide than anyone else because they don't know of the programs that we have. And that's why I stay so busy trying to get the word around. And the things he said was magnificent, and I enjoyed the whole conversation. And I want to thank you for having him on today.
Of course, we're going to see much more of him. Mr. Fox is awesome. The organization is awesome, and I'm learning about it. And I was also able to advertise to them that we do have the Organization of Unity and Empowerment, which is to help our veterans and our youth educate. Well, we have a lot of people that are visually impaired and disabled, and so we're trying to assist our veterans, assist our community and our youth. We're working together with other organizations to try to make sure that our community is in good standing and well off. But thank you so much, Mr. Gray, for coming on, and we appreciate you. Do we have someone else that would like to make a statement or comment or question?
Hi, it's Ivana again. It's so interesting. The other day I watched a video with Dr. Sebi. So as we do have organizations that are helping, supporting, advocating, and encouraging those who may have disabilities or who just may not be where they want to be, because there's many different organizations doing many different things. When I listened to his video, there was a lady who was thanking him for giving her husband his sight back. And Dr. Sebi said, but I didn't treat two people who had low or no vision. I only treated one, and it wasn't her husband. He treated her husband for something completely different, but because that got corrected, he got his vision back. Dr. Sebi said what many people do not know is that what goes on in your gut can blind you. And I thought, wow, our bodies are, well, one machine, and every operating part affects another. But I just thought that was amazing. And I'm going to say good to share, because you do have people who may come to be a part of the organization, and I don't know, of course, if there is a health and or medical component to it, if there is a research component to it, but it would be so awesome if people came in who were blind and had the information to learn more about wellness and health that could help reverse that condition, that it's not as permanent as many believe it to be. And of course, every case is a different case, but that was powerful information, that he treated something else going on in his body, and it gave him his vision back when that was corrected. So I just share that.
Well, that brings up a good point. We have a diabetic, diabetes is one of the leading causes of blindness in this country. We have a diabetic division. So the diabetics do get together. We have seminars where diabetic experts, diabetic educators will come on and give people information. There are glucometers and other kinds of things that diabetics need, and there are certain ones that speak, so blind people can use them independently, and all that is covered in our diabetics division.
Yeah. So and also another thing, we just had people that was going out to Washington lobbying about the changes that's needed with the tools that's used for medical purpose for the people that are disabled and visually impaired or blind. And I thought that was a great thing, that they're advocating on behalf of people so that they can get the technology to better care for themselves. So that's one of the things NFB is doing that I've noticed in the short time that I've been a part of. So, yeah, thank you, Vadane. That was great. Do we have anyone else that wanted to chime in to ask any questions or make any statements?
Deborah, thank you for the guest and podcast for the Saturday afternoon. It's a convenient time. Wanted to say it was actually incredible. I mean, awesome information. I'm glad to hear Mr. Fox. I've heard of NFB. I hear people talking about it quite a bit. And I too would like to somehow know about when your meetings are, so that maybe I can attend one of your meetings and just see what's going on, in a manner of speaking, but check out what's going on and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Fox, you want to share with him the meetings?
Well, there's a couple of things. Deborah is on my email list, but anybody who wants to contact me, so she can certainly send, if she gets a meeting notice from me, she can send it. But if you want to if you would like to get on my list for meetings, my email is richardfox1. That's RICHARDFOX, and then the number 1. So it's richardfox1 at comcast.net. And if you send me an email, I'll put you on my distribution list. So any information I send out, you'll get it.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. This is Adrian again. My company just left, so I can speak. I'm glad to hear you, Mr. Fox, because I was active with the NFB in Florida. You know, I was in Florida for 22 years before moving here. And they weren't doing as much as you seem to be doing. You know, I hear other people talk about it, you know, Janet Jones and other people, and then now that Deborah is in it, you know, I got to hear it all the time. But I'm impressed with what you do. I wasn't just joking, but you know, as soon as I find some time, you know, that is open up when y'all have a meeting, I'm gonna start getting more involved with the NFB. You know, because in Florida I used to go to the conventions and everything, and I do kind of miss that. But I didn't agree with a lot of the things that the person that was over the NFB in my area in Florida, you know, the meetings would be almost like a debate, you know. So, but you seem to be doing a good job, and I commend you on that. So.
Well, Adrian, as you know, the more hands that we have to row the boat, the more we can get done. So we'd love to have you again.
But if you have all the hands on one side, you're only going to go in circles. No, I'm joking.
It's true. Well, yeah, we need to coordinate. We need to coordinate our activity.
Right. That's my point.
So again, my email is richardfox1@comcast.net. Debbie knows what it is. Deborah knows what it is. And anybody who emails me, I'll get them on the list, and they'll get my meeting notices. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
I was wondering if we had Forrest on at this time. He usually chimes in. He's our CEO and founder. So I was just wondering if he's on so we can give him the floor to ask whatever questions he may have. Forrest? Okay. So do we have anyone else with any other questions?
He's drinking his smoothie.
As usual. He's always doing something. Except for what we ask him. I don't know. Yeah, he usually come in with his mic check, and want to ask a few questions. But he's also visually impaired, but he's the CEO and founder. And this particular podcast was put in place so that people can get good information, things that can help them to better their lives. And so he's really big on the health aspect, on receiving positive information, things that can set us in the right direction. And I thought it was also interesting that we were talking about diet as well, because like you said, diabetes is the number one contributing factor. And I know for myself, the problem with me started as because of the rapid weight gain and stressing and not eating right. So it is very important that we learn to eat right and do the right things and learn if there are things that can reverse. In my particular situation, they could not say whether I can or cannot gain the vision back. It was something different that they hadn't really knew much about. And even now, 30 years later, they really couldn't say. But because of the weight that I gained, I've lost since then 150-plus pounds. But it's a possibility that I may gain the vision back. But you always have to be prepared to exist where you are, be content where you are, to progress from where you are to do better. And being a mother of young kids, I really had to let them know that no matter what situations may arise in your life, you have to put your best foot forward and make the best of it. So I always say, and when life deals lemons, make a lemonade. And so I did that with my college paper. When life deals lemons, make lemonade. And that's what we really have to do. Always push forward to try to make things better and never feel that we are stuck where we are, knowing that we can achieve higher heights, go to higher heights if we strive, if we believe. And that's another part, like you said, they come in the community, Mr. Richard Fox, and said that they really don't know that they can do this thing because it's so new and there's very few people around. So it's kind of hard when you first getting started, getting in motion, because you have to be around other people, like you said, that have done the process, that can show you that there is hope for you. And that's what NFB has been for me, and Commission of the Blind and Joseph Cone and places like that, and even our different organizations, Beyond the Eyes with James J.C. and Eyes Like Mine with Crystal Allen, and Eyes with the New Vision with Leon Hathaway. Those organizations give people hope, and also I just wanted to say to anybody that may be having any vision loss, any vision problems, and really not sure where you are, call the Commission of the Blind and NFB and different organizations like that, and they can help you to get on your way, because my vocational counselor is awesome, Madeline Garcia, and Mr. Ray Charles was my counselor before he passed, and they were very instrumental with me getting started, getting up and going with my 501(c), getting the technology training that I needed, getting the initial training, and being able to move forward, getting structured in the business. And these are things that these organizations allow the support that you need, give you the support that you need to move forward. And so we really want to commend them on that, and we want to recognize them and let people know that they can reach out to these organizations for help, that you're not just stuck where you are. If you desire to move forward, you can move forward. You just have to make that call. And Mr. Fox gave his information for anyone that is wanting to be a part of the meetings. And I believe those meetings are every third Saturday of the month in Bloomfield. Yes. Okay, yes, so
I would like to mention two specific practical programs that our National Federation of the Blind has that people might want to take advantage of right away if they are legally blind. One of them is if you need a white cane, the NFB will send you one for free. So if the number to call if you want a free white cane, and they will ask you how long you need it, and they'll send you one with the right length. The number is 413-888-8255. 410-659-9314. That's 410-659-9314. And just follow the menu options, and you'll get to talk to somebody. And then if you need a free white cane, you'll get one. That's number one. Number two, the NFB has a program called Newsline, which will allow you to read up to 300 newspapers all over the country and about 70 magazines, either using your regular house telephone, your cell phone, Alexa, or a computer, and you can sign up for Newsline. You can use that same phone number, and there is a menu option for NFB Newsline. So again, you have to be legally blind or totally blind to use it, or otherwise print disabled. But those are two very specific programs that will give you some independence, and I didn't want the day to go by without me mentioning them. And the phone number again is 410-659-9314.
Awesome. It's very important. I love to do that. I remember when I first went to Joseph Conan, I could just call the number up and get the information about the sports, the Super Bowl. Anything I wanted to know, and I'll call up and find out every day. And I thought that was really, really great to be able to be on top of things, get all the current events and information that I needed just from picking up the telephone. So that's a great thing, great information to share and to know. And also for anyone that may have any type of disabilities, as I say, a visual loss or maybe legally blind, if you have not had an assessment, if you just went to the eye doctor and he told you about your situation, but you don't have any assistive technology, any help, and you would like to get a job, further your education, and make sure that you can get around safely, it's very important for you to get that eye report from your doctor and forward it to your agencies like Commission of the Blind, or call NFB and see how you can navigate and get into these programs, because if you give that information to the right people, then they can get you in touch with the services and leadership that you need to be in touch with so you can further your education. And what I've seen, Mr. Fox, is a lot of people that have not really accepted or having a little problem with their vision loss or whatever. I may be in a little denial. Sometimes they're stumbling around. They don't want to use that white cane, but I just want to reiterate that cane is very important. I mean, you can be lost right in a place you would not normally be lost in because of the changing of the light and things like that, and you wouldn't want to fall and hurt and injure yourself, or things of that nature. So I may have my cane folded up in my pocketbook, or I know when to take it out, when to use it, and I'm trying to start from the beginning when I walk down the stairs to have it out and to make sure that I'm good, because any little dip in the step or anything in the sidewalk, you could really fall and hurt yourself. And it's not about with my son said, "Mom, I don't want you to be walking out with this cane." When I first started using it, he said, "Because I don't want you to be vulnerable to people in the area. They may feel like you're an easy victim or prey or whatever." But I found it to be quite the contrary. A lot of people reach out and ask if they may be of assistance. Can I help you cross the street? Do you need any help? Can I help you to get where you're going, and things of that nature. But for those reasons, people really don't know what to expect. They tend to be a little scared, but don't be. Reach out and get the help that you need to make sure that you're secure and you're okay, because sometimes one fall could be one fall too many. The injuries that you may acquire may be devastating. So it's time to put, the most important thing, yourself first and your safety first, So at this time, I just want to say, do we have anyone else on the line that would like to say something or ask any questions? All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Fox. It has been awesome having you on the line. Avadane, do we have any of that classical music that we can play for Mr. Fox on today?
Well, before we do that, I just want to thank you, Deborah and Avadane, for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you. Oh, we have someone. Avadane. Right.
I am here, yes.
Oh, I just hear some noise in the background. I said, do we have any classical music that we can play at the end of this podcast for Mr. Fox? Mr. Fox, I don't know the name of this one, but it's always a...
Yes, that's one that every piano player learns before they're 10 years old.
That is my favorite.
Yeah, I think that's Beethoven, right?
Yeah, is that Chopsticks? No.
What's the name of it?
That's Beethoven.
Beethoven. Okay. I know. I love that one. It's on my phone. I have it on my phone and everything. That's like my favorite. I don't know why I don't have the name of it, but hey. So, Avadane, could we play a classical song for Mr. Fox? Mr. Fox, we really appreciate you coming on. Let's talk about it with Deborah, and we would definitely like to have you come on again and share more information and anything upcoming and current events that we would greatly appreciate you coming on to just keep us informed about what's going on and how we can be a help as a community and as a podcast. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Deborah, and thank you all of you who have been listening so patiently. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you. Tell your wife thank you. We appreciate her lending you to us for this time.
Thank you. Will. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I have a song for you.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that being said, thank you all for coming on, being a part of Let's Talk About with Deborah. Look forward to seeing you on the next show. Have a great day.